Alright guys, welcome to another special edition of the Messy Keto Kitchen. My name is Steffi and I'm here with my mother Jan, who you probably met in one of our previous unboxing videos that we released last week. But we are going to talk about the process of change and how it affects just about every portion of your life. And then we'll relate it to health and wellness and how you can make changes in your own life. So without going too far any direction, Mom, do you want to tell them a little bit about your credentials so they know that they should listen to you?
Okay, I have been in the field of psychotherapy for 34 years, and my specialties include individual, couples, trauma, anxiety, domestic violence, and I've worked with such a variety of people, and I've had thousands of clients now, and I know the struggles that some of them go through. I have a master's degree. I have certifications in family and marriage, forensic, other areas of mental health. I have, yeah.
So you know a thing or two when it comes to
I would hope so.
After all these years. Well, great. So let's talk about the process of change, and that's kind of a broad statement to make, but what I want to do is you kind of talk about when we try to make a change in our lives, whether it be health, wellness, I need to get better at being organized, whatever it is. How does that process of change work, and how can we apply it and get better at being better at change and accepting it?
So much of what we do is in the moment. We have an event that happens and we go, I really need to change this. I'm unhappy with who I am and whom, the person that I'm with, how I look, all of that. So there's that momentary, I need to change. However, if you don't have some key pieces in place, your change is going to last. I think you've talked about this with Nicole. Change lasts maybe a couple of weeks before it starts deteriorating back to the default, what you've always done. And then, of course, then that's frustrating. Whether it's you're changing in a relationship, you're changing in your health, the more times you stall out, the more frustrated you become, the less secure in who you are. So change, as I was talking with Stephanie about this, change occurs whether you want it to or not. And I think many people can feel when a difference is coming, when change is starting, but they resist it. And part of our resistance comes from laziness, because to do anything that's different, you have to change how you view your life, yourself, and what you want to do. And there's fear because it's the unknown. But I think a lot of it is it's just so much easier to stay stuck.
It's kind of like the devil that you know.
Oh, absolutely. There's a term for it, and it's called homeostasis. And you might try and change, and for a little bit it's there, but whether it's you know how to stay in an abusive relationship, you know how to stay in any addictive cycle, whether it's substance use or an eating disorder. You hate it, but it's what you know, and that's where you stay. Yeah. So the process of change generally starts taking place when you say, I know I need to. And it's not just, gosh, I hope it happens. It's, this is what I'm going to do.
Okay, so walk us through what the process of change looks like then.
Okay, it's called pre-contemplation. You're thinking about what you would like different. And if you don't move forward with that, you just stay stuck, as we were talking about. But in my mind, there's several key pieces that you have to be able to do. And one of them, more than anything else, is, am I willing? If you don't have willingness, you're just going to keep going back to the way you've done it. And willingness means now your awareness of triggers and people and self-sabotage, all of that, it increases. So if you're going to make a change, you have to know why you want to do it. Okay. If you're doing it for other people, it probably is not going to stick. If you're doing it because you believe that this will help you feel better, not just how you look outside, but how you feel internally, because no one can fill that part up for us. Okay. It's great if you have encouragement, but what if you don't? Can you still do it for yourself? So if you know what you want to change, being specific, why you want to change, then that means at some point you're going to look at it and go, am I going where I want to go? And if I am, what do I continue? And if I'm not, what do I need to change about my change?
Interesting. So let me ask you, I don't know if this pertains to what we're talking about, so bear with me here, but we'll use diet because this is we do health and fitness on this channel, but we're going to use that as the example, okay? How would you differentiate having good willpower with actually making a change? Because from my perspective, I'll get people who ask me, how do you have the willpower to continue to eat this particular way or exercise or whatever? And I try to explain to people, for me personally, willpower is very fleeting. I feel like that's the initial push, like you said, okay, it's time to make a change, I need to do something. And willpower kind of gives you that initial boost, but after that it's creating a habit which would come into the process of change, right? We've actually changed our habit. So how do you think willpower plays a part into the process of change?
Any change that's going to happen has to be, it's called a cognitive shift, which means in your head you go, this is what I've been doing, this has been the result, I don't like it, how do I think differently about this? Willpower, as you said, is fleeting, and that's true. That's generally in the moment. And if you don't have that, this is what I want to do and this is why I want to do it, you won't have I'm going to say like a solid block behind it, the thing that gives you consistency and self-assurance that this thing that you're willpowering through right now is momentary. For some people, I'm going to give you a fast example. For some people, they have difficulty stopping smoking. Okay? And the first thing they do is have a cigarette. It's just such a habit. And if you say to them, I'll tell you what, postpone that cigarette for 10 minutes. And if you still want it, go ahead. But every time you teach your brain to reset, you're the one that's now in control. You're the one that's in charge of what you're thinking, and whatever you think, then you feel. And that contributes to what you end up doing. We've talked before about this, and I think it's important to know that you can make or break a habit in 21 days. And that doesn't mean you mark it off in your calendar and magically it happens. It means there's a consistent, day by day, I'm doing it this way no matter what.
And that's based on the Pavlovian response, which is kind of sad, but it's true. So testing the dogs, if you ring the bell, by the 21st day they were salivating because they knew that was time for food. And so when it pertains to making those habits, I think a lot of us are in the mindset of, I tried it for a week and I just couldn't do it. It was just too hard. And the reality is, at least for me, I would say for most people as well, but the reality is, until it just becomes ingrained in you, until it becomes a habit, you are working off of willpower / stubbornness, probably, right? For some of us, it's stubbornness. Like somebody said I couldn't, I'm going to prove that I can. And then once you get to that threshold, then it becomes just easier and easier. Kind of, Nicole was talking about, the intensity and the frequency, right? So if you do it enough times, it just becomes second nature to you. So willpower aside, it has just become a habit. So in your practice, when you're trying to help people make these changes, what is your recommendation as far as how to, you already established that, hey, I need to make a change. What's the next steps?
I frequently have people write things down, write what your goal is, but then you have to know where that goal is coming from. And that's when you're writing this will come out. My goal is, to monitor how I eat. Okay, why do you want to do that? Because your health is in jeopardy, or because you just don't feel good about yourself. And as we've talked about, it's not just an external, how do you feel? It's an internal, how are you doing? So you know what you want. Now you've written it down. I'm a huge believer in writing it down because now you have the visual. And you can always go back to it and go, oh crap, I did write that down. That's what I said I was going to do. So what do you want to accomplish? Why do you want to? How are you going to work towards that? If you don't have a plan, you're really just hoping. You're hoping for magic.
And so this kind of goes back to, we did a video before about SMART goals and setting SMART goals. So they have to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound.
Absolutely.
So just saying, I want to be happy is not something that it is not measurable. There is no actual measurement to happiness. What makes one person happy might not do anything for somebody else. So when we talk about it being, measurable, it's got to be, I am going to be more mindful of what I eat. How I'm going to be doing that is I'm going to be tracking my food, and I'm going to start making, okay, I go through the day and I ate excess of 500 calories. So the next day I'm going to be even more mindful. I'm going to measure my results because I only went over 400 calories. as an example, this isn't all about, you know, calories, food, anything like that, but this is as an example as how I would set a goal.
Right, and you said measurable, so you've got the how am I doing it? That's I'm looking at my intake. Measurable would be not just a physical change, but it would also be, I didn't even have to think about it this time.
Yeah.
It became a way of my processing. And there's a beauty in that when you realize, you know what, for 10 years I've done it this way, and now I've already started to change, and I don't have to make myself think about it. You will for a while. Anytime you're changing, you've got to be consistent, and please don't ever rely on other people to do this for you. It just won't happen. You're going to be disappointed. I have enough trouble taking care of my own change, and I can't fix yours either. So you've got all of those, what is it, why is it, how are you going to do it, and how will you measure your success? And now if you feel like you've been successful, do you continue it, or can you step back? My belief is you generally need to continue, and it just becomes easier. I love talking to people about change because I don't think we are stuck. I don't think you should ever buy into, well, I've done it this way all my life. I don't like this one. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, whatever. My dog still learns. Well,
and here's the thing, you're going to know better than I will. There's an actual diagram I've seen multiple times. I show it to you in a lot of the business meetings and team building stuff, but what it is, and I think it is the process of change. So at the beginning of it, you think to yourself, there's no way this is possible. I can't do this. It's never been done. We've always done it this way. And then you kind of go over a little bit to the right, and it's like, yep, I told you this was garbage. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
I understand.
But this is garbage. It's not going to work. I want to go back to the way things used to be. And then you start to kind of go through the valley. And the valley is where you're kind of like, if you picture a marble rolling through the valley, it's kind of the, yes, I can do it. No, I can't do it. And by the time you come up to the other side, it's like, oh yeah, this isn't so bad. This is exactly what I wanted to come out of it. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was, but a lot of people get stuck in that valley. They never get that marble going all the way up the other side. And so you just kind of have to recognize that it's not going to be comfortable. Most times change is not comfortable. It's not an easy.
I promise you
it's not. And it should, I mean, I don't want to say it shouldn't be, but it pretty much shouldn't be, because you're breaking out of the comfort zone. The way you've always done things, the way you're used to doing things. And it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. And I mean a little bit. Some people it's a little bit longer depending on what kind of change you're trying to make. But the reality is, if you think about setting that habit of the 21 days, okay, you're still going to have change to make after that. But 3 weeks is nothing. And that is going to pass you by whether you do something or you don't do something in 3 weeks, right?
Absolutely.
So I guess I kind of look at it as that. It's like when you're struggling and you're trying to make a change and you get frustrated with yourself that you didn't do it right or you fell back into a bad pattern, think about that valley, the marble rolling through the valley. Eventually, you get enough force and it's going to go up the other way, but you just have to be, steadfast and say, you know what, I know I'm in the valley right now, but I'm not going to go back the other direction.
And I would really encourage people to not be so afraid of change that you remain stuck. And I said at the beginning, sometimes it's laziness, because you really have to be focused. You have to change how you think about things and it's called intentional. You know, this is how I see myself. This is what I'm going to do, how I will treat people, all of that. You have to think about it, especially if you've been kind of self-centered or insecure.
Yeah.
This is you fixing a whole lot of things. So I have found this to be true for myself. I used to resist change because I didn't like how it felt. I didn't know what to do with it, which is part of that fear. But now, seriously, when I start to feel that internal, it's a little bit physical, but it's mostly mental, I just go, bring it on. Let's see what you got. And I'm involved in it then, and it's not happening to me, it's happening with me. I mean, it might sound kind of goofy.
Makes sense. So let me ask you this. It's a small segue, but it really isn't. I actually think it pertains. One of the questions I get a lot, and I know I'm not the only one who gets this, is when it comes to, let's say, again, we're back to diet and exercise because that's what our channel is about. Hey, I'm really trying to change. I'm trying to make sure that I eat properly. I'm following a particular protocol, and my spouse is just, they refuse to do it, and it makes it hard on me. And a lot of times I think sometimes we can use that as an excuse to not make the change for ourselves as well. But also it just makes it that much harder. That means that we're spending that much more time in the valley. The marble's having a little bit harder time rolling. What do you
put it?
Yeah, so what do you do when you do, let's say you have a client, or even if it's for yourself, when you have that little barrier there, that hurdle, what would you recommend to people?
Well, I would ask something first. Who are you making this change for? Are you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for someone else? And if the answer is, as we talked about, if you're doing it for someone else, it's probably not going to last, because it's reliant then on their approval, their involvement, and chances are you're going to be very disappointed. If you say, I know I need that for myself, your dedication will be different. Almost always. I wish it was not this way. But almost always when I'm seeing somebody who's having an issue, either it's anxiety and their partner doesn't get it, it's a relationship issue, it's even mental or physical health. If the other person isn't involved, they get so focused on the other person that they lose themselves. And so what I try and encourage them to do, again, I'm going to tell you, write stuff down, right? Mm-hmm. Right?
I'm not a writer, just so we know. Go on.
I know, and she's...
I know I'm a writer, but not to the same extent. She's a list maker, and I mean, she has legal pads that are just full of stuff. I'm a write things down on a board, and then that's it. Like, I don't expand on it. I know that if I have the basic idea down, but everybody's different, and that's something that I would like to bring a little bit of light to. You can't expect that everybody has the same organizational strategy or learning strategy or type of learning. So some people are more visual than others. Some are...
Oh, I'd love it if you'd go there.
Oh, that's a whole other, we go down that wormhole, but there is a different way. So it's trying to tell somebody to make a change, and the way you're going to make your change is to write everything down in your bind. I know, that's not what you're saying. But what I'm saying is, if, let's just say we try to tell somebody to do things in a way that is not their learning style, it's not going to stick with them. You will not make a change with something that is just not your learning style. Mm-hmm. And so for people that are like, look, I'm much more of a, show me a YouTube video where somebody's teaching me about the process of change, and I'll do better than I do, reading a book. So
when I'm talking about writing it down, I mean very, very small, specific.
Yeah.
Goal, motivation, how you're going to make it happen, measurable, and I mean.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I do a SMART goal, but I leave it to that, and that's where I'm saying, like, keep it as small as possible. Going off into novels might not be.
You overload the system, and you try and
take
care of 20 things instead. And she brought up the learning styles, which is fascinating. Some people listen to this, what we're doing today, and they will get all the pieces. And some folks will go, I wish you had that on a board so I could have seen it. And others have to be hands-on doing it. I know.
Stop touching your mic.
I think we are a combination of all those things.
I think so. For the most part, people are. But anyway, continue. I didn't mean to interrupt that thought.
Basically, I'm just going to encourage change in everybody because, and that sounds very wide sweeping, and I understand that, but I think if you stop learning, I think if you stop pushing, you stop living. And I know how capable we are. The brain is this amazing place, and it can change in whatever direction you say, this is where I want to go. And I know this, some of you might already know this, but we are constantly creating more neural pathways, left side to right side, how you handle something. If you figured out a problem solving that you didn't have before, now that's wired in there. And I think that's fascinating. You don't just get 3 brains. Well,
some do. Let's not go there either.
Yeah. But most of us have more than that, and they're not just meant to roll around like the marbles. Oh, I did want to say something about your marble, because you are looking at momentum. And if you've ever done something like that and you realize that once you've done this, you do have the momentum to climb the hill, if you will. I don't know if anybody's ever primed a pump, but you pump that handle. No water's coming out, nothing. And after you've done it a while, it now pulls up the water through the faucet, and you have what your goal was, water.
But it takes a long time.
But it took effort.
And with that momentum, that's what I'm saying, that's when you're in that valley. It can be a lot of the, I'm doing it, no, I'm not doing it, I'm doing it, no, I'm doing it. And that's where a lot of times we get stuck. We go, obviously this cannot be done. There's no water coming out of the spout. This isn't happening, and we revert back. And so I guess it's just a patience game. When it comes to making change seldom happens overnight. And also it's just, I think of the phrase, it's a cute little quote, but if it wasn't for change, we wouldn't have butterflies. Butterflies aren't rushing the process to become a butterfly. But they have to change in order to do so. So if we were to take away top 3 things, we're trying to make a change in our life, tell us what we should know.
I would say you would need to know the why you want to change. If you don't have that, you're floating. That's like telling me, you know, I'm working on it. I have no idea what I'm working on it means any more than you do. So know what you want to change, have that goal clearly in mind, and understand that it's always wonderful if you have support from others, but frequently, I mean, what's important to you will never be as important to other people, and, you know, conversely. But understand that this is you doing this for you, and not only will you benefit, but those around you will benefit as you take care of yourself, as you build that sense of confidence.
Absolutely.
And it feels so good. I promise you, it just feels so good no matter what area you're trying.
I agree.
Because one area often leads to another.
It really does.
Kind of a tapestry.
Yeah. Is that 3 things?
Oh, is it?
I don't know. It's like 2.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. You're almost to the other side of the marbled hill, so don't stop. The best, and what I want to just end on is just saying that, like, we've all, at any given time, we are always making changes. Every day of your life, you're making some sort of change, whether it is change that you've decided to make or change that's been imposed upon you. And so when we talk about that marble, a lot of times it is change that's being imposed upon you, but do it for the right reasons. Change for the reasons that, like she said, they have to be your reasons and your reasons alone. Doing it for somebody else, I want to get thin because that person will think I'm a better person, which is just...
And will love me.
And yeah, that's... What if in a month you don't even care about that person anymore? It's hard to keep yourself motivated to continue that change that could be healthy for you if you do it for somebody else. But overall, what I guess my main bullet point I want everybody to take away from this is that if you're not growing, you're dying. So if you're not changing, you're on the descent. We're all dying.
Which is sad.
It is sad. And I look at myself and who I was when I was 20, and the person that I am today, a little bit older, probably wouldn't be friends with the person that I was at 20, and not that I was a bad person, it's just I've grown so much since then.
Correct.
And that's what I would say you want to look back at, not with bad memories and be like, I was just a terrible human being, but be able to look back and say, man, look how much I have grown. And if you can't look back in the last 5 years even and see how much you've grown, this is the time to use that process of change and
kick yourself in the butt.
Yeah, kick yourself in the butt and be like, you know what, I don't want to... On my tombstone, I always joke about this. Nobody's gonna write that I kept the cleanest house or that I bench pressed the most. Like, that's not important. What's important is the person that you were, as far as how loving you were, kind, generous, all of those things. And so that's the change I would want to see in the world.
She is.
Yeah, I have my moments. But is there anything else you wanted to add?
I really appreciate you having me here.
I'm glad that you were here. She's very wise. Like like I told you guys in the other video, I'm very lucky. I have a mother who's a brilliant therapist. My sister also a brilliant therapist, and so I get free counseling a little bit. I call, I ask questions, and they're very good at leveling things out. So as usual, what do we say at the end of our videos? Okay, keep on keeping on.
Mash the button.
Mash the subscribe button. If you have,
it is a great YouTube channel.
Really she's very biased because she is my mom, but that's okay. That's okay. It is great, Mom. Thank you. Sorry. But yeah, smash the subscribe button. Don't forget to like the video, and please make your comments below. In all of these videos, Jan/Mom will be helping answer some of those questions. So if you have a question, this is a segment called Ask the Therapist. Please ask the therapist, and we will get back to you.
And I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all for watching. We will see you in our next video. Have a good day, guys.
Bye.